All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the unsitting yoga practice. So a lot of us spend a lot of our days sitting down, maybe driving, on the computer, working at a desk, sitting and eating. There's a lot of things that we do that sort of bring our bodies forward. And sometimes this can shorten the hip flexor muscles, the muscles that bend the thighs in towards the body. Can also tend to round the shoulders a little bit and sometimes curve the spine forward. So in today's practice, we'll work on lengthening through the hip flexors, opening a little bit through the chest, a little bit through the throat. We have an optional peak posture today. And there's modifications all the way along as well. So do the version of these postures that feels good in your body. And I really encourage you to use your own wisdom in deciding what will feel good and how to modify the postures to feel even better. We'll start out like we often do, breathing in a seated position. I'm going to sit up on my yoga bolster. It might be nice to sit up on a mat or folded blanket. Keep your hips up a little higher than your knees. And you can press down into your legs. Let your legs be heavy. You can feel your sitting bones start to plug down into the earth. And from this rooted connection, we can start to grow up tall through the spine. Maybe roll the shoulders back, letting the heart start to rise forward. If your hands are out on your legs, you could draw them back just a little bit so your elbows are in line with your body. And already this allows the chest to start to open and rise. Grow tall through the top of the head and let the chin be level with the ground. And from here, we can bring in one of the pranayama, the breathing exercises. And today we can practice the Ujjayi Pranayama. And this is the victorious breath. And the way I practice this breath is to constrict the throat. So tucking the chin a little bit in, a little bit down, breathing in through the nose, using this constriction of the throat. So it makes a bit of a sound as you breathe in through the nose. Sounds like this. Might be hard to pick up on the mic, but it is the sound of ocean waves or a distant swarm of bees. Kind of a hiss or a buzz in the throat. With Ujjayi Pranayama, we can breathe in with the sound, and then at the top of the breath, there's the option to hold the breath for 1 to 5 seconds. You shouldn't be thirsting or hungry for the next breath, but just enough to sort of feel the lungs fully inflated. And then you can exhale gently and without sound out of the nose. We'll practice this together. You can start with an exhale and then constricting the throat, breathing in with sound. You can end your Ujjayi Pranayama with an out breath. And then come back to slow, even breathing in and out of the nose. Quiet breathing. Ujjayi Pranayama is a breath that we can do at any time. It's moderately heating, and it is said to be a breath that helps release emotions. So if in your contemplation you have, or you find that you are stirring up or experiencing emotions, then Ujjayi, the yoga traditions say that Ujjayi breath is good for releasing those. From here, we can start to move back onto our backs. And nice to have a block handy for that. So let me take off my yoga scarf. So we can roll onto our backs. And we'll keep the block nearby so we can grab it without having to reach very far. So we'll plant our feet down, sort of our heels are close enough to tickle with our fingers. And the feet are about sitting bone distance apart. And from here, we'll start to curl the tailbone up and then let the tailbone be heavy. Let's go with a gentle rock like this, curling the tailbone up and then letting the tailbone draw down to the earth. So starting to wake up and lubricate the hip joints and also where the lower back, so where the spine starts to articulate with pelvis. We can bring the breath into this, maybe inhaling as the tailbone comes down, belly expands. Exhaling as the tailbone comes up, drawing the tummy in. And with your next cycle of breath, as you exhale, curl your tailbone up. You could press down through your feet and lift your hips up. Lifting your hips up any amount. And then slowly curling down, letting the tailbone be heavy. Timing this up with your breath. Breathing out as the hips come up. And tune in to the feeling around your hip creases. So as your tailbone curls up and your hips lift, are you hardening through your hip creases? This is a subtle feeling to get. We can set the pelvis down for a moment. One thing that can help to get this feeling is to put a block in between the knees and to kind of squeeze in on the block. And if you don't have a block, it could be like a water bottle or an Nalgene bottle is about the right width for most people. We'll squeeze in on the block. We'll press down through our heels. And then with an exhale, we'll press down. Keep squeezing in through the block. And then we could stay up here for several breaths. If this ever feels like too much, feel free to roll down and to roll up and down. This feels good for you. But as we squeeze in on the block, we may find that there is a bit of a softening through the hip creases. So even though lifting the hips tends to lengthen and open the hip flexors, we're doing this in a way that doesn't tweak the lower back. By squeezing in on the block, we're maintaining a bit of softness through the hip creases. Letting the tail still draw up towards the ceiling, but letting the lower back be neutral. Take one more breath in here and then and exhale, gently roll down. And say goodbye to the block, set that off to the side, and then we'll hug the knees into the chest. You can take a little rock side to side. And then you can hold on to your knees and maybe give a little rock forward and back. For some people, this feels pretty good on the back, and you might be able to roll all the way up to seated. And if you can roll up to seated, feel free. Rolling front to back is not for you. You can roll onto your side and then push yourself up. And we'll find our way into a tabletop position. So from the tabletop position, we'll lift up through one hand, to the heel of one hand, then lift up through the roots of the fingers, the balls of the fingers, peel the fingers off, and then we'll make a little fist, then the wrist, pull the elbow back. This is cat paws. We'll put this hand back down in reverse, finger pads, roots of the fingers, heel of the hand, and we'll move to the other side. So cat paws, just like a happy cat, kind of kneading the carpet or kneading the cat bed. This gives us a chance to warm up all the joints of the fingers, the hands, the wrists, the elbows. You can go as fast or slow as you like. And when that feels like enough, we'll set out in our tabletop again, spreading out all of the fingers, all 5 fingers, and pressing through the finger pads. So like we're a tree frog, and we're gonna press down through those sticky pads. Knees are right under the hips, and we're drawing up on the tummy to help the spine be long and strong. We can stay long through the back of the neck by keeping our eyes down towards the mat. And then from here, we can step back through the right foot. We can tuck the toes under and get a bit of a stretch through the calf. So still drawing up through the tummy. And then if that feels okay, draw the back foot up so the heel is about in line with the hip. Toes pointed straight down, still drawing up through the tummy. Now, if this feels okay, we could inhale to reach forward with the opposite arm. So we're stretching long, kicking back through the back heel, shining forward through the fingers. We'll take a deep breath in here. And as we exhale, slowly, gently, both hands, both knees come down to the ground. We'll step back through the other foot, tucking the toes under, feeling a nice stretch through the calf. If this starts to feel like a lot on the wrists, consider whether you could press down a little more through your finger pads. Put a little more weight into the roots of your fingers and a little less in the heel of your hands. If it's a lot, you could also come down onto your elbows. That might feel better. We'll float the back heel up. Back heel is about at hip height and the toes are shining straight down towards the floor. So we have nice alignment in the pelvis. We're drawing up through the tummy to keep the spine long, and eyes are down towards the ground to keep the back of the neck long. If this feels okay, you could inhale to raise your arm with a long diagonal line, stretching long through the straight fingers, straight wrist, straight elbow, straight knee on the back leg, kicking back through the heel of the back leg. We'll take another inhale here. And then exhale, slowly, gently, both hands, both knees, come down onto the mat. We'll step back through the right leg again. We'll tuck this toe under again, feel a little stretch in the calf. And then we'll start to slide the right foot out so it's about in line with our knee. And I'm going to change directions so you can see this a little better. We have the sole of the foot pressing straight down, and the weight is on this knee and this foot. And then I'm going to bring a block over here because we'll use that later. And then come up so that my weight's off my hands. If you like, you could fold your mat double to provide a little more support on this knee. We're going to explore gate pose a little bit. So we want to build a strong foundation, pressing down through the sole of the foot, down through the knee. And then from here, we can feel that we can rise up tall through the spine. And maybe feel like we can push the hip forward a little bit by curling the tailbone under a little bit. So we draw in on the tummy, let the tailbone curl down, tailbone long towards the ground. From there, we can take our hand down our straight leg, and maybe start to reach up to our top hand, feeling the weight heavy down through the knee. And then we can feel or breathe into, if you're feeling a stretch through the front of the hip, maybe up through the side. So rather than aiming for depth, trying to reach down and touch the foot, we're kind of thinking about opening, inviting that top shoulder back, opening the heart to start to shine up towards the ceiling. The gaze could be up towards the sky or straight ahead, or it could be down towards your foot, depending on what feels good for your neck. Breathing length into this top rib cage, top lung. Letting that lung be buoyant, expansive. We'll take one more deep breath in here. And then we'll exhale, come all the way up. And we can come over and find our block. We'll bring our weight down through our block. You can find different heights for your block, depending on what feels good for your body. We'll still press down through our sole of our foot. And we can reach top arm up. The same thing here, we'll invite the top shoulder back, opening the chest, shine the heart up towards the sky. And pressing down to the sole of the foot, we can start to reach up overhead. And maybe here we can also get that feeling of the tailbone curling down or curling forward. So letting the tail kind of aim down towards the sole of our foot that's on the ground. You can pick the position that's best for your neck. Pick the gaze that works for you. Take one more deep breath in here, and then we'll exhale. Start to bring this hand down towards the ground. We'll walk our hands gently forward. We'll spread out our tree frog fingertips, palms underneath the shoulder, and then we'll draw the heel back, and we'll come back into our tabletop. And step back, toes curled under. On the other side, I'm doing the other leg this time. Reaching out, and move my block. Reaching out to the side with the straight leg, pressing down to the sole of the foot, and gently walking the hands back, coming up, folding your mat under if you need to. From here, we're feeling the tailbone descend, drawing down. We'll feel how that kind of opens the hip forward, kind of opening in this front pocket area. Reach our arm down our straight leg, and then start to reach up through our top hand, inviting the top shoulder back any amount, shining the heart up towards the sky any amount. We're finding the right gaze, Maybe up at the sky, maybe straight ahead. Down at the foot. Breathing, expansion, buoyancy into this top lung, rib cage as we reach up and over. Letting the weight descend down to our knee. Breathing length into all of this tissue, fascia, muscles on the front side of the body. Another deep breath in here, and as we exhale, we'll come over, find our block, and then we can press down through the sole of our foot. We'll reach up with the top arm, invite the top shoulder back any amount, shining the heart up towards the sky, any amount. Take a deep breath in here. And then as we press down to the sole of the foot, we may find we can reach up overhead, maybe towards a diagonal line between the sole of the foot and the palm of the hand. Heart continues to shine upward, finding the gaze that feels right to you. And one more deep breath in here, and then as we exhale, start to melt this top hand down and forward. Body follows with it. Hands walk forward. We spread out our tree frog finger pads. We slide our straight leg back, and then we're back into a tabletop position. And from here, we'll sink the hips back towards the heels and find Balakasana, the child's pose. So the hips are heavy here. The spine waterfalls forward, letting the forehead contact the mat. And if the forehead doesn't quite reach, you can always find a block to support the head. It's nice to have that grounding contact under the head, so we feel like we're landing. We'll find the breath here. We can anchor the hips backwards. Start to walk our hands over towards the right. So especially anchoring the left hip back, stretching long to the left side of the body as we reach over towards the right. The left hip anchors back, breathing expansion into the ribs like an accordion. You might be feeling an opening through the waist, the side body. We'll take one more deep breath in here, and then we'll start to walk the hands over towards the other side, anchoring both hips here. And from the hip, anchoring back, reaching forward with the waist, reaching over with the ribs, letting the ribs expand like an accordion with each breath. If you need support with your head, feel free to bring the block with you. And we'll do one more deep breath here, and then we'll come back to the center. We'll take another cycle of breath in the center. This child's pose as we prepare for standing practice. So when you're ready, you can start to come up into your tabletop again, spreading all the fingers out. If you have a block, you can move it out to the side. And actually, while we're here, you can move both your blocks up towards the front of your mat, because might be handy to have them there as we do some sun salutations. So spread the fingers out, press down to the finger pads.
tuck the toes under, and then we'll start to lift the hips and come up towards a downward dog. You can let the knees stay bent here. Heels are heavy down towards the ground. The head is heavy too, letting the neck be relaxed. You can shake your head a little bit. No tension in the neck. Nod your head, yes, yes, neck is relaxed. And shining your sitting bones up towards the ceiling. Bending your knees in a way that helps you to shine your sitting bones upwards. Take another deep breath in here. And then we'll start to lift the heels up, bend the knees more, bring the gaze up in between the hands, and slowly start to walk forward so the hands are just in front of the feet. You can bend your knees a lot here. We're coming into forward fold, Uttanasana. If it's hard for your hands to touch the ground, you can always hold on to blocks. I like to leave my knees bent in forward fold so my upper body can kind of relax onto my thighs. Letting your spine waterfall forward. And press down through the feet, charge up through the legs. And as we inhale, we can start to come up all the way up to standing. Arms can come up, and then we'll sweep the hands down. Find Tadasana up the front of the mat. So we can press out a little bit in the outside edges of the feet. We can let the tailbone descend a little bit, draw in on the tummy to lend support to our spine. So helping our spine be tall. Roll the shoulders back, helps the heart to shine forward. And let the palms shine forward. So we have pride in the chest, humility in the chin. So length along the back of the neck. From here we can inhale, arms come up. It's comfy on your neck. The gaze could come up. And then we'll exhale, swan dive forward over bent knees into Uttanasana, forward fold. Back of the neck is long, head is heavy. From here, we'll press down into the mat with our hands, or you could stack up your blocks, and we will step back with the left foot. We'll step back with the left foot, and then we'll press down through the left hand and reach up through the right hand. So here we have a twisting lunge, spreading wide across the chest, letting this top shoulder back any amount, and the gaze could be wherever is comfortable for your balance and for your neck. Take one more deep breath in here, and then we'll exhale, hands come back down. We will step back into a downward dog, knees can be bent, sitting bones shining up towards the ceiling. And then we'll step forward with the other foot. So the foot lands just behind the hand. You can reposition your foot if it needs it, and take as many steps as you need to find your way up there. We'll press down through our opposite hand. So if your left foot is forward, pressing down through the right hand, and then reaching up, twisting lunge, opening the chest, spreading wide across the collarbones, and inviting the top shoulder back any amount, finding the gaze that feels good on your neck. Take a deep breath in here, and then as we exhale, start to bring both hands down
And then we'll lift a little bit through the back heel and we'll step forward as many steps as it takes to come into Uttanasana. Feet about sitting bone distance apart. And the body can relax onto the thighs, letting the knees be bent. Back of the neck is long. We're relaxing through the back of the head. And then we can root down through the feet, charge up through the legs. Inhale, arms come all the way up. And then exhale, we'll bring hands down to our hips. And from here, we'll find a warrior one position. We'll step back into warrior one. So we'll keep our hands on our hips. We'll bring our weight over into our right leg. Pick up our left foot and we'll take a step back with the left foot. And from here, we'll take more of a crescent lunge variation. So we can let the back heel lift up off the mat. We'll take our right thumb into our right hip crease and invite the right hip to come back. I'm sort of letting that back. Front knee is bent and it shines out over the middle toe. So we have nice alignment there. If you feel like there's a lot of heat or fire being generated in the front leg, feel free to take an inhale to straighten it and then to come back down. We're letting our tailbone descend here. So as the tailbone descends, the tummy draws in, and even that may feel already like an opening through the front of the hip and a lengthening or expansion through that hip pocket. So we'll inhale, arms can come all the way up, optional to bring the gaze up. And then from here, you can grasp your fingers, interlace your fingers. And if it feels okay on your balance, we'll take a little lean over towards the right. So we're taking a little lean over towards the side of our bent knee, our front knee. And letting the tailbone descend, we can feel opening through the front hip pocket on the left. Maybe opening through the waist. Take one more deep breath in here, and then we'll come all the way up. Another deep breath at center, and then we'll exhale, hands come down, find the hips. You can take a little soft bend and bounce here, and then take as many steps as it takes to come all the way to the front of the mat. From here, it might be nice to take a wiggle, shake out the legs, and then we can find the other side. So bring our hands to our hips, find our weight into the left leg this time. So we're doing the other leg, and then we'll step back, right foot. We can let the heel stay up off the ground. We'll bring the left thumb into the left thumb crease. So we have our front knee bent, the knee is aligned, and then we're aligning the hips by bringing the left hip back a little bit. Right hip might come forward a little bit. From here, we let the tailbone descend, draw the tummy in, using the abdominal muscles to create strength in the spine. And then even from here, as the tailbone descends, we may feel that opening in the front hip pocket. From here, we'll inhale, arms come all the way up. Option for the gaze to come all the way up. You can interlace the fingers. If you like, you can interlace your fingers the more unusual way this time. So we'll get practice interlacing both ways. We'll take a deep inhale as we stretch up. And then exhale, opening over to the side, leaning towards the bent knee, or towards the side of the bent knee. The tailbone continues to grow down, moving straight over. So you may feel like there's the slightest feeling of opening through your top shoulder, letting your heart shine up towards the sky, even in this side bending position. Take another deep breath in here. We'll come all the way to center. You can unclasp the hands. Take another deep breath here. And then exhale, arms sweep down. You can find a spot on our hip. And then we can find a little bit of softness, a little bit of bounce. And take as many steps as you need to step up towards Tadasana at the front of our mat. We can take a little wiggle, one side and the other. And then from here, we have the option as we come down onto the mat to find a squat position. And for a lot of people, a squat position is not super comfy to come all the way towards the ground. So it might be nice to build yourself a little seat. You could even come down to towards a chair with your knees coming out wide. So I have 2 blocks and my meditation cushion, and you can do this at the front of your mat or facing the long legs of your mat. Your feet can be a little bit wider than hip distance, and your toes can be pointed out. And then we'll inhale at the top, exhale, pressing the knees out wide, start to come down. I'm hoping I hit the middle more or less. Well, I'm going to teeter-totter off the back a little bit. So if you're coming onto blocks or onto a seat, you may need to readjust when you get there. Sometimes it's nice in Balakasana, this squat, to feel the inside of the elbows on the knees. This can be an opportunity to open the hips out. We get some external rotation in the hips. So our toes are pointed out, and that helps drive the knees apart. Here we also want to let the tailbone be heavy. So we're still drawing in on the tummy when we're in the squat. We can take another deep breath in here. And then we can start to let go and move out of this posture. So for me, I'm going to bring my hands down, just straighten my feet out. Say goodbye to all of my props. And the next posture that we have is has some options. So Kaputasana, a pigeon preparation pose, could be done on your tummy, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. The other way to do a pigeon is to bring ankle to opposite knee, and then lift that foot up and invite the ankle towards the chest. Sometimes it feels okay to reach through this little loop and to draw the ankle in, pulling the toes back towards the shin. That's one way. So you could draw the right knee in if that feels like a good way to you. The other way to do Kaputasana, or the pigeon preparation pose, is with your facing more the ground and the shin coming up underneath the body. If you find, I've got my right foot coming forward, so my right shin is coming forward. If you find that you're leaning over towards your right hip a lot and your left hip is lifting up, you could take a block and put this underneath the hip of your bent knee.
So this gives an opportunity for a little more alignment of the hips. One of the nice things about the Kapotasana is not only that we get to stretch out the glutes, the extenders and external rotators of the hip, so that's on our bent knee, but this straight leg, got the toe tucked under, we can push forward a little bit through our toes, and we've got a real opening of the hip flexors here. If it feels comfortable, you start to walk your hands forward a little bit. You walk your elbows down. You can find some sense of surrender in this Kapotasana. And if you are lying on your back, you could release your grip on your thighs or on your legs. You do a little kick in the air. And then you could switch sides. So that'll be the left ankle coming over to the right knee this time. Gently drawing in. We'll also switch up. A couple ways to do this. It's nice to come back into downward dog. Step forward, the opposite side. Find any props that you need. Whichever version of this posture you pick, it's nice to be able to breathe length into the muscles that are lengthening. Taking a deep breath in and letting the tension melt out of the body. Maybe your breath starts to slow a little bit, and then we can find or identify perhaps any little pockets of tension that might be living somewhere in the body. You can make this a dialogue or an inquiry with the body. Is there any tension in the jaw? Any tension in the tummy? Am I gripping with my calf, with my thigh muscles? And what is possible to let go of here? Exhale and release some of that tension. Take another deep breath in here. And then coming back, have another option here, another set of options. If you did the hip stretching version that had you on your back and drawing in, then this next version will be to roll onto your side. You can stretch your arm out to lie your head on your arm. You can bend your bottom leg to provide some support. And we're trying to line up the body, hold on to the onto the ankle. If you can't quite reach your ankle, feel free to use a strap. And then here, we're drawing in on the tummy. We're letting this the knee of the top leg kind of point straight with the spine, so it's pointing away from us. We're drawing down with the tailbone
And drawing in on the tummy. This is a nice opening for the quad muscles. A bit of opening through the throat as well. Actually, yeah, it's kind of a nice variation for all of us at this stage. Drawing in on the tummy. Exhaling to grow down through the tailbone. Being gentle with the tension on the ankle or on the foot. So we're not necessarily trying to kick the heel into the bum, but more trying to breathe length into the front of the leg, into the front of the body. I'm doing that in a way that is skillful and aligned as we continue to draw the tummy in, give support to the spine, as we continue to grow the tailbone down. This aligns the spine in such a way that gives us a better stretch through that front hip pocket. Take another deep breath in here. And then you can exhale, gently let go of your feet. And then you can roll all the way onto your other side. I'm going to take a little spin on my mat. And we can bring the head down onto the arm. Decide whether you want to hold on to your ankle or use the strap. Here. Think about keeping the knees in fairly close relationship to one another, so we don't want this top leg lifting too much. We're pointing the knee down and away. And we're pointing the tailbone down and away. Drawing in on the tummy, giving support to the spine. And letting the breath open in through the front of the body. Lengthen through the front of the leg, through the hip pocket, maybe even through the waist. Letting the head relax onto the arm. You can always put a block underneath your head if you need a little bit higher support. Letting your arm be relaxed. And take another deep breath in here. And then we start to gently let go. And then we can come onto the back. And we can come into that first position that we had at the beginning of class, the Tadasana, starting position. We'll lift up the hips a little bit and then we'll scoot them over to the right. And then we can bring the knees down to the left. You can either use your abs to gently lower them down, or you can hold on to them with your hands. So your knees gently come down over towards the left. They don't quite reach. You can put a block underneath your knees. Stretch your arms out wide like a letter T. Here we want both shoulder blades to sink down into the mat, especially the right shoulder. As the knees stretch over towards the left. Deep, slow breaths in and out of the nose. So we find a gentle spinal twist. If it feels okay on your neck, you could start to look over maybe halfway towards the right. Bringing some gentle rotation into the neck. Bringing that sense of inquiry as you tune in to different parts of the body. Using your breath to identify and melt away any pockets of tension. You can start to bring your gaze over towards your knees. Use your hands or your abdominal muscles to lift your knees back up, your feet back on the ground. We'll bump the hips back to center, and then we'll lift the hips up, bump them over to the left. Same thing, decide if you want to support your knees with your hands or with your ab muscles as the knees go over towards the right. Spreading wide across the chest, letting both shoulders anchor down, especially the left shoulder. And find any support that you need under your knees, so you can always bring a block over, put them underneath. Breathing relaxation into this gentle spinal twist. If it feels okay on your neck, maybe gently bringing your gaze over halfway towards the left. Taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, relaxing, melting away any pockets of tension that you find. Take another deep breath in. And an option to bring your hands to your knees or to use your abs to lift your legs up. Bring them back to center. Bring your hips back to center. And from here, we'll start to come into Savasana, the final relaxation posture of this practice. And start to stretch the legs down one at a time. If you have socks or a blanket or a scarf, this might be a nice time to kind of set that up to keep yourself warm during the quiet part of practice. And then once you're comfortably laying on your back, you can start to relax all parts of the body. Let your eyes close. And let go of any particular focus or effort on the breath, and just let your breath breathe itself naturally. You can let your feet roll lazily onto their sides. Letting the ankles feel loose and relaxed. Letting the calves sink heavy into the mat. And let the knees feel juicy and alive.
Letting all the thigh muscles relax apart from one another, untangling, unfurling. Letting all the muscles of your hips spread out and relax. Maybe like both halves of your pelvis move apart from one another, just slightly. Just enough for your sacrum, this triangle-shaped bone at the bottom of your spine, can fully settle down into the mat, sinking in, a little triangle impression. Feeling all the parts of your spine sink into the mat. Feeling your ribs expanding on every inhale, and then on every exhale, relaxing down a little bit deeper into the mat. Allowing your shoulders to widen, broadening across your chest. Letting your upper arms be heavy, your shoulder blades be heavy, fully contacting the mat. Letting go of any gripping or tension in your forearms, your wrists. Allowing your palms to widen, a gentle curl in of your fingers. Allowing for all the little muscles of your neck to relax. All the little muscles of your jaw, your tongue. All the muscles around your ears relax. All the muscles around your eyes relax. Your temples, your forehead and your scalp smooth out and relax. Finding this time to listen to your breath. Gently allow for your thoughts to pass through without attachment, without judgment. Start to bring some movement into your fingers, into your toes. Maybe circling your wrists and your ankles. Maybe starting to turn your head side to side, preparing your neck. Feel like you can reach your arms up alongside your head for a big stretch. Arms and legs. Maybe yawn. And then you can roll yourself onto your right-hand side. I'm taking a moment here to consolidate the practice. Think about how it went, what you noticed, how you felt in your body, in your breath, maybe also in your thoughts, your emotions. And then without attaching any judgment to this practice, good or bad, we can put it behind us, thank it and kiss it goodbye. And gently come up to a seated position. Thanks so much for practicing together. Nice to see you as always. Namaste.